Hi there, I'm Ellen, and today I'm going to bring you an insight with one of the lectures in a recent course, the 10-minute magic. You will get to follow along day 7 of the 10-minute magic. Now, what is that? Well, it's a course that I designed for you who feel that you never have time to do embroidery. Now, I get it. Embroidery can feel very overwhelming because you have this beautiful project that you're really itching to do, but then it's very difficult to really have an idea of how long time this is going to take, which makes it feel overwhelming. And yeah, maybe it just doesn't get done. So actually, it doesn't require that you sit down for hours and hours and hours. All it takes is small efforts on a regular basis. So basically, in this course, you get a 10-minute video per day in real time where you and I stitch together this design I'm going to show you. There you can see it. This design from start to finish within 30 days. You heard that correctly. You are sure to have a completed design within 30 days. Now, that takes off a lot of pressure, doesn't it? You have an idea roughly of how much this requires of you in terms of time, 10 minutes daily. If you miss a day, okay, you can recap that the day after. Now, if you feel, but I have missed the first 7 days, don't worry. You can join this challenge afterwards as well. If you want more information, just check out the link in the description below. There is also a bonus workshop that is called From Scratch to Pattern, basically where I show you exactly how I create this pattern that we get to stitch together in the course. So the workshop shows you all the steps. You can even try to draw it along with me. I know that many of the students in the academy have already done so. You, of course, also get the pattern to download if that feels overwhelming again. Now, we are here to support you on your creative art journey. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's session. Hi there, it's Ellen and day 7. Today there are no stones to be done because we finished them all up yesterday. I'm still excited about that. I'm going to start the timer so that we can get into our 10 minutes of today right away. Now, yesterday I ended up still having some of the single-stranded floss left, so I decided to just keep that on my needle while we just finish up the inside of the door as well. Some of the texture details in the door before moving on to doing this kind of... I will need to actually look up on Google Translate maybe what the name for this is in English. I don't even dare to give it a try right now. So the textures here inside of the door are also, shocker, stitched with a single-stranded backstitch. Now, remember in the beginning when we transferred this design, we only transferred the outer contours of these long rectangular shapes here. So we're going to use those as reference when we add the second layer. So look just quickly at the design. You see there is a second rectangle on the inside. We did not transfer that. We didn't need to because we have the outer contour lines for reference. So this is the same principle that is used in drawing as well. If you just start placing out some of the main lines and main contours, that is usually all that you need to know where adjacent lines are to be placed. Up. We have a situation here. I'm just gonna undo this stitch actually because I'm not happy with how they aligned. So much better. Yeah, so if you remember from the introductory workshop From Scratch to Pattern, basically where we were drawing this design together. By the way, just a little mention, I think it's a bit too far to create a traveling line on the back side there, jumping from one to the other. So I'm just going to attach the floss quickly. And it's slightly too short to actually move it over, so I'll just take a new strand. All right, so in the From Scratch to Pattern workshop, you can still watch it again. You have it here in the curriculum section. I believe it's right at the top in the beginning, where I show you in real time the whole process of drawing this design that we have in front of us. I also mentioned this idea of looking at and referencing the adjacent lines. By the way, one more note. Now I start this line here, or the thread, up here in the left-hand corner, closer to the other rectangles, because I know that I want to make a traveling line on the back side of the fabric to one of them, most likely the one on top. So instead of starting down here, where I know that I would in that case finish down here as well to kind of end the loop, it would be too far to move up here, and then I would have to attach again. So that's the mistake I did on this one. Now we learn from that mistake, and I'm starting up here instead, so that when I finish the whole loop twice, right, because we're going to do a second one, I'll end up here, and the traveling line will be easier. Now, don't get overwhelmed that you have to think that far every time. The more you stitch, the more these things will come natural, but clearly I still made, I don't want to call it a mistake because it was so easy to fix. So it is not a mistake. This is really just a matter of convenience, maybe even laziness, that I didn't want to have to attach it a second time in the same way that I did with the first one. But it's these small little tricks and tips that the more you stitch, the more they will just come to you. Just a quick check on the back, because yep, I was right. It felt like got a little knot on there. Usually if you do get a knot on your thread while you are stitching, it's usually just the floss that has kind of gotten a bit tangled together, which is most of the time. So I don't want to say always, because there is no such thing as always within arts, but most of the time it can get resolved by simply pulling the floss gently to help undo that. Maybe putting the needle into the loop that is kind of representing the knot. Because unless you have actually taken out the floss, and there's a risk of making a proper full-on knot, there is no reason why it shouldn't be able to just undo in the same way that it got entangled. I hope that makes sense. So this time again, I'm starting it down here so that it will be close to make the traveling line on the back side in case I still have floss left. Starting to get pretty short, so I might not have enough to go to the last textural rectangle here, but that's all right. I'm still preparing for it by starting the rectangle down there. Now that we have stitched most of the background, I can also be a bit freer. You see that I'm actually holding on the fabric because I don't really have that much transfer underneath, so that I have to worry about it getting smeared out or anything. That's why I also like to start stitching from the left towards the right, because I'm right-handed. So it just happens to be easier to avoid smearing, and also as you work your way towards the right, if you're holding it with your left, you can successively move your thumb where you're holding it to. Now just be careful to make sure that you washed your hands before, right? Because you don't want to have any marks on the fabric. So naturally holding the hoop, I guess, is still the best way to do it. But let's keep it real. We are not perfect. I've also mentioned so many times throughout our trainings together that I'm a real advocate for working with and in the way that fits you the best. I don't like to place too many should into the picture, because it's all of these rules that can be such, and like transform into such blockers for creativity in different ways. So Do you, my friends. Now, doing the knots on the third floss, and I'm hoping, okay, let's actually start this one on top of there then. I'm hoping that we are able to finish all of these textural details before the timer runs out. Not sure about that because I've been talking a bit more today. Or I guess I talk on all of them, but I paused maybe a bit more. Here I just quickly go to the adjacent little detail here with the door handle. First, I'm outlining the contours of the base of the handle, but I want to put a bit more emphasis on it, so I'm actually going to add a few satin stitches on here. I know I'm just having a single strand. Would have gone quicker if it had been double stranded, but single strand is what we have on our needle, so I don't want to make the hassle of changing. So it's still served well with 3/4 stitches, so that is completely all right. I'll add one more just in the bottom horizontal one. There we go. And of course, the actual handle, I will only do kind of the beginning here. Let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. I'll just do the beginning because the handle is afterwards actually going over this square, so it's better that I actually finish stitching up this, I just said square, I mean rectangle, of course. That I finish stitching up both the outer and inner contours of that before adding the actual handle. So again, going back to the whole idea of what comes first, the door is clearly behind the handle. The door existed before you attached the handle. There we go, 10 minutes. I'll just finish up this floss. Hope that's fine for you. If you don't have those extra 30 seconds, then 10 minutes is up. All right, so I just follow here. You see how I'm overlapping. I'm making really short stitches, and I'm kind of overlapping them using, I just follow the contour line stitch still. I'm just using straight stitches that I overlap to create the shape. And the last straight line here. See, I also added a couple of just small, tiny stitches to really like capture that little shape. You know, you see like a handle like that. Okay, let's attach this floss. The only single strand we have left is the contours of the window there. Bye. We'll do that tomorrow. So I really hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, don't miss to check out the Charles and Elin Academy for more, both all of the sessions in the 10-minute magic, of course, but also all the other amazing courses and workshops and tutorials, you name it, that we have inside of the Academy. Just check out the link below, and I see you in the next one. Bye.